Have you ever dreamed of vanishing to the very edge of the world, to a place where the ocean stretches endlessly and the horizon feels like the end of everything you know? Welcome to Rapa Nui, better known as Easter Island, a speck of land in the vast Pacific and the most remote inhabited place on Earth. Here, isolation is not just a fact, but a way of life. This tiny volcanic island is world famous for its giant stone moai, those mysterious stoic faces carved from volcanic rock, silently watching over the rolling hills and windswept plains. But Easter Island's story is so much more than just its enigmatic statues. It's a saga of people, place, and the struggle to survive against all odds. It's a tale of human ambition, remarkable ingenuity, and the sometimes devastating consequences of pushing nature beyond its limits. The land itself bears the scars of this history. The Rapa Nui people, isolated from the rest of the world, built a thriving society from scratch, using only the resources the island could offer. They developed unique traditions, technologies, and a culture that still fascinates us today. Their achievements are both inspiring and in some ways a little terrifying, a reminder of how far human determination can go, for better or worse. This is a story of survival, creativity, and the high stakes of living in complete isolation, where every decision could mean the difference between flourishing and collapse. How did a small group of people, cut off from the rest of humanity, manage to create one of history's most baffling and impressive monuments? What drove them to carve and move these massive statues? The answer is a messy, fascinating mix of faith, power, resourcefulness, and the constant struggle to survive in a challenging environment. So let's dig in, because this is one history lesson you won't want to miss. The secrets of Easter Island are waiting to be uncovered. Around the 12th century, master Polynesian navigators set out across the vast, unpredictable Pacific Ocean, guided only by the stars, ocean swells, and the flight of birds. These were journeys of incredible risk and skill, with entire families and communities placing their hopes in the hands of their most experienced wayfinders. After weeks or even months at sea, they finally landed on the remote shores of Rapa Nui, what we now call Easter Island, completing one of humanity's greatest feats of exploration. They brought with them everything they needed to survive and thrive: crops like taro and sweet potato, chickens, and the knowledge of their ancestors. The island greeted them with lush palm forests, fertile volcanic soil, and a bounty of new opportunities. With no other people for thousands of miles, they organized themselves into clans, each led by a chief who claimed descent from the legendary first settler, Hotu Matua. These clans divided the land and resources, creating a society built on cooperation and tradition. Life on Rapa Nui was structured and communal. Everyone had a role. Some farmed, some fished, others built and maintained the villages. The island's resources seemed endless, and the people flourished in their new home. Isolated from the rest of the world, the Rapa Nui developed a unique language, spiritual beliefs, and customs. Elders passed down stories and wisdom, ensuring their culture would endure through generations. But they weren't content with just surviving. The Rapa Nui were visionaries, dreamers, and builders. They looked to the land and the stone, imagining ways to leave their mark for centuries to come. The volcanic rock that covered the island became their canvas. Driven by ambition and a desire to honor their ancestors, they began to carve massive statues, moai, that would come to define their civilization. Honoring ancestors and displaying the power and unity of each clan became central to their way of life. The moai were more than just statues. They were symbols of identity, pride, and spiritual connection. This drive to create something monumental set the stage for both their greatest achievement and, ultimately, their greatest challenge. The construction of the moai would demand everything the islanders had to give. The era of the moai was about to begin, a time of extraordinary creativity, ambition, and transformation for Rapa Nui. The choices they made would forever change the island, leaving a legacy that still fascinates the world today. Let's talk moai, the colossal, mysterious statues that made Easter Island world famous. These stone giants have captured imaginations for centuries, standing as silent sentinels on a remote Pacific island. Contrary to popular belief, these weren't just heads poking out of the ground. Most moai had full torsos, arms, and hands, all carved from volcanic tuff at the island's Rano Raraku quarry. Many remain partially buried, their bodies hidden beneath the earth. Each moai represented a deified ancestor, believed to watch over and protect the living Rapa Nui people. Their solemn faces gazed inland, keeping a spiritual vigil over the villages and clans. Carving a single statue was a monumental task, often taking a year or more. Craftsmen used only simple stone tools, chipping away at the volcanic rock with patience and skill passed down through generations. Moving these massive figures, some weighing up to 14 tons, required extraordinary teamwork, ropes, wooden sledges, and ingenious problem-solving. The entire community would come together for this effort. Some believe the Rapa Nui walked the statues upright, rocking them forward step by step, almost as if the moai themselves were alive and moving across the land. Once in place, some moai were crowned with a red stone hat called a pukau, a final flourish that made each statue even more impressive and unique. The bigger the statue, the greater the clan's prestige. Size was a symbol of power, and each group tried to outdo the others with ever larger moai. This sparked a centuries-long competition. Nearly 900 moai were carved and erected across the island, transforming the landscape into a vast open-air gallery. The society became obsessed with monument building, pouring resources and energy into creating these awe-inspiring figures. But ambition has a price. As the drive to build bigger and more statues grew, so did the strain on the island's resources. Sometimes, too much of a good thing can tip the balance, leaving behind unfinished statues, barren landscapes, and a cautionary tale about the limits of human ambition. For a while, the moai building system worked, until the population boomed and resources ran thin. The palm forests, vital for moving statues and daily life, vanished as trees were cut faster than they could regrow. Soil eroded, farming suffered, and deep-sea fishing became impossible without canoes. Seabird colonies disappeared, and food grew scarce. The ecological crisis strained society to the breaking point. Clan rivalries turned violent. Civil war erupted. Moai were toppled in acts of defiance, and statue building ceased. The quarry was abandoned, statues left unfinished. Survival replaced tradition, and a new Birdman cult emerged, shifting power through dangerous competitions. The Rapa Nui had pushed their environment and society to the brink. Their paradise was lost, and the lesson was harsh. Sustainability isn't optional on a tiny island. The consequences were irreversible. Just as the Rapa Nui struggled to adapt, outsiders arrived. In 1722, Dutch explorer Jacob Roggeveen landed, naming it Easter Island. Europeans were stunned. A barren island, a few thousand people, and hundreds of massive statues. Contact brought trade, confusion, and devastating diseases. Epidemics decimated the population. The worst came in the 1860s when Peruvian slavers kidnapped half the island's people, including leaders and elders. Few survived, and returning captives brought smallpox, nearly wiping out those left. By the 1870s, only about 100 Rapa Nui remained. Their culture, history, and even their written language were nearly lost. The island, once vibrant, became a shadow of its former self. The moai stood silent, witnesses to tragedy. It was a heartbreaking end to a remarkable civilization. After near extinction, Easter Island's story became one of survival and slow recovery. Chile annexed the island in 1888, confining the Rapa Nui to a small settlement while sheep ranching damaged ancestral lands. Only in the mid-20th century did things begin to change, thanks to global attention and local activism. In 1966, the Rapa Nui gained Chilean citizenship and freedom of movement. Tourism arrived, bringing both opportunity and new challenges. The Rapa Nui began reclaiming their identity, reviving language and traditions. They restored moai, turning them into symbols of resilience. Today, the community balances protecting their heritage with the pressures of modern life. The struggle for autonomy and environmental protection continues. Being Rapa Nui now means honoring the past while shaping the future. Easter Island is more than a remote outpost with mysterious statues. It's a story of ambition, creativity, and the limits of growth. The Rapa Nui built a culture that still echoes today, but their collapse warns us about the dangers of overreaching. Their challenges, deforestation, resource depletion, social strife, mirror our own global issues. Yet the Rapa Nui endured. Against all odds, their culture survives, and even thrives. The moai now stand as symbols of resilience, not just relics of the past. The real marvel isn't the stoneheads, it's the people who refuse to disappear. Easter Island's greatest monument is its unbreakable spirit. That's the lesson the island leaves for us all.